Good day, everyone. So we all know that there are five types of tests. So there's an essay, true or false, multiple choice, identification or completion, and the matching type. But today we're only gonna focus on the matching type. So what is matching type? So matching is a test item type where test takers can demonstrate or show their ability to connect ideas, themes, statements, numbers, expressions or solutions with supporting evidence, definitions, equivalence expressions, and so forth. So, with that being said, the matching type test item format provides a way for learners to connect a word, sentence, or phrase in one column to a corresponding word, sentence, or phrase in a second column. So the items in the first columns are called the premises, while the answers in the second column are called the responses. And when we say matching type, it also measures the ability to identify the relationship between a set of similar items. So each of which has their components. So such as words and their definitions, symbols and their meanings, dates and their events, causes and effects, people and their accomplishments, problems and solution, and etc. So that is the definition of the matching type.
This is an example of a matching type. So as you can see, there is an instruction in which match the theories in column A with their proponents in column B. Write the letter of the correct answer. So when we say about matching, it is all about connecting. So there is a column A, and the learners should connect the or match the right answer here in column B. So there is a blank there, or that is a space provided to write the answer. Or if there is no space provided there, so you can just connect or match your answer to column A. The column A is the given situation, and you need to match it to its column B. Or who is the writer? Column A states the question, and column B states the answer. So it is just so easy if you know what is the exact answer of column A to column B. So they are just connected to each other. So matching type of test is not just like essay that you need to think very much, because it is hard, because there is no multiple choice, or you cannot choose its right answer. But here in matching type, so this is its example, because most commonly when we use matching type, we usually use this kind of examples, the column A and the column B. It is not like the multiple choices that it has three choices like A, B, C, or 4 A, B, C, D. But in matching type, it is formed like this, that there are series of letters and also the numbers, which is, for example, here in column A, it is 1 to 5, and the choices in column B is 1A to G. So it is more than the column A, because in that way the students would really think what is the right answer in the column A to the column B. So that is the examples, one of the example of a matching type test. It's not quite hard, because the answer, if you really study hard, if you really understand your lesson about a certain topic, that what the teacher gives you through a matching test, then you will be able to answer it thoroughly and directly.
So at this moment, I will be going to tackle about the advantages of matching type test. So, matching type test or matching questions have several advantages because all items have the same set of options. Then the first advantage of matching type test is that it is easy to understand. It is easy to understand and it is easy to process for the test takers. So learners find them easy to read and comprehend. Then the next one is that it is easy to score. So one of the advantages of matching type is that it is simple to construct a score. Scoring is not subjective because responses are single words, letters, and other symbols with definite value points. And hence, the personal element of the scorer is removed. So, dili siya, unlike sa essay, nga mag-based pa ka o rubrics ig scores. So, kani siya nga type of test is dali ra kay siya scorean. So, the next one is that it allows you to cover more content. So, as a teacher, it allows us to cover large areas of materials without having to spend much time or effort in constructing the questions. The next one is that the sampling of the examination is more representative and so measurement is more extensive. So this is because more items are included in the test. So the next one is that handicaps such as poor vocabulary, poor handwriting, poor spelling, poor grammar do not adversely affect the ability to make a reply. So dili siya mag-need of vocabulary, grammar, bisan pag poor kag vocabulary, dili siya maka-affect sa imong score. So ani nga type nga test, dili siya pareha sa essay nga nang kung wrong imong spelling, maapektuhan gyud ang imong score. So ani nga type of test, pwede raw kay vocabulary kay ang answer ni mo is pure letter agad siya or symbols, no? So again, this type of test it saves time and energy in answering the question. So unlike sa essay nga it takes time i-answer kay imo pa i-comprehend ang question, mag-formulate pa ka og kanang mga words to construct your essay. So kani siya makasave ka og time and energy in answering. And it is easy to check, no, ganina, as well as what I have said kanina, dali ra ka siya checkan. And it is effective when assessing definitions and relationship. So as a teacher, if your topic is more on definition and relationship, then this type of test is perfect to use, no? Then because it is space saving objectives, it is a compact method to assess learning targets. Then it can be developed to use with pictures, maps, graphs, and etc. Like for example, sa imong column A magbutang ka og mga pictures, then your column B kay mga definitions or mga relationships, then it is lang attracted siya, then dali ra ka siya i-understand sa imong mga estudyante, dali ra ka siya masabtan. That's it.
So good day, ma'am. My name is Mercedita Libradilla, a BSS English 2 student. So today, we'll be tackling the matching type test. So I'm assigned to discuss the disadvantage of using matching type test. So when we say matching type test, it is an objective test consisting of two sets of items to be matched with each other for specified attributes. So the matching type test item format provides a way for learners to connect a word, sentence, or phrase in one column to a corresponding word, sentence, or phrase in a second column. So the items in the first column are called premises, and the items on the second column are called responses. So those are the answers, the responses. So since Maria Roxanne Secretaria is done explaining the advantage of using matching type test, then I will be the one, on the other hand, will be explaining the disadvantage of the matching type test. So I will be tackling two main points. First, matching type test is too time consuming, and Second, matching type test doesn't give challenge to those learners who are advanced in terms of analysis and synthesis. So the disadvantage of the matching type test is it's ill-suited for engaging the kind of learners that already has a higher understanding in regards to analysis and synthesis levels. Since there's a tendency to use this format for the simple recall of information. And since we know that adult learners often require practice and testing of their higher order thinking skills such as problem solving, then it is right that if we were going to use matching type test, we must also consider upgrading it, like putting a twist, for example. So don't limit your use of this format to just simply recall of knowledge alone. Rather, try to find ways to use matching for application and analysis too, such as presenting a short scenario and asking for the best solution. Second is that matching type test is time consuming for users taking tests, especially if the test is timed. Since when using matching type items in an assessment, learners need to identify the specifics of how to score them. They need to think thoroughly so that they won't mess up. Once they mistook picking the answer, then there's a tendency that your previous answers also incorrect. So you need to double check your answer every time you feel like your answer is wrong. That's why some people prefer to give partial credit when some but not all of the responses are correct. So often the authoring tool determines the approach, but if you do have control, then that's good. So that's all for the disadvantages of using matching type test. Now I will give the virtual floor to the next reporter. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Roslyn Carhasan, and today I will going to tackle when to use matching type test or when is the best time to use it. Matching type tests are best to use when you need to assess the knowledge gained from a course that features a lot of dates, names, places. It is often used to measure lower level knowledge such as dates and historical events, persons and their achievements. For example, is terms and definitions. So let's just act that we tackled about the eighth part of speech. So in the first column, you can see the terms such as noun, pronoun, and etc. And then in the column B, its definitions. Another example is object or picture and label. So let's act that we are talking about animals. So in the first column or column A, you can see series of animals, and then in the column B is their names. Then another one is scenarios and responses. So in column A, you can put the house is burning, and then in column B, the responses either they will call for help or ignore it. That's all for my part, and I hope you learned something. Take note that matching type tests are effective to measure learners' ability to identify relationships.
Hello again, everyone. This is Rachel Velasquez, and I am assigned to demonstrate or to discuss to you some tips or some rules that we must consider in creating or constructing a matching type kind of assessment, because it is very vital for us to have some rules in creating a matching type kind of assessment, since our student is also part of our assessment, and we must consider these tips or these rules for that kind of questions. The first tips in writing a good matching question is providing a clear direction or provide clear direction, because direction is the most fundamental part of assessment. And with that, if we provide a clear or a concise direction for our students, then they can easily understand what is the assessment all about, or what is this type of question all about for them. Because As we all know, direction or instruction is the leading part of our assessment. The second tips in writing a good matching question is keep the information in each column as homogeneous as possible. When we say homogeneous, that is uniformity, in which your information in each column is uniform or is arranged well, wherein you should not mix those information by the different columns, but you should arrange or you should put your information in each column by uniform or by the way you put your information there, that should be arranged well in order for the students to not doubt or to not hesitate to answer the following questions. Because some students might question you what kind of information is written in this column, because you mixed those kind of information. Thus, you might as well consider those uniformity in creating or constructing a matching type question. The next tips in writing a good matching type kind of question is allow the responses to be used more than once. So, why we should allow the responses to be used more than once? Because as teachers, we are not only focusing on one question but more than 10 questions. And in matching type kind of questions, allowing the responses to be used more than once will bring effectiveness in your question. It will also allow the students to have a higher order thinking skills, in which they will use their critical thinking in answering the certain question, because not only one response is put in that certain question, but in that certain item, but also two or more than responses is also usable in the matching type kind of assessment. Fourth tips in writing a good matching question is arrange the list of responses systematically if possible. So it's either chronological, alphabetical, or numerical, because in having a matching a type kind of assessment, we should also consider arranging the sequence of response. We should start from top to bottom, or we should use number from 1 to 10 in order for our questions, or in order for the students to comprehend the item, or they will comprehend the type of assessment, so that they can get the exact or correct answer if you arranged your response systematically. So the fifth tips in writing a good matching question is include more responses than stems to help prevent students using a process of elimination to answer question. So this is a very good tips for us teachers, that we should include more responses than stems. When we say responses, these are the questions that we must include in our columns, or we must include in our boxes. And when we say stems, these are questions. So it is a very efficient for us teachers to add more responses than stems, because most of our students are using the process of elimination, wherein they eliminate the response that is not accurate in the specific questions. So in order for us to have a very effective matching type kind of question, then we must, this tip is very important. We must add this to our role, that adding more responses is more coherent than having more stems, to avoid the process of elimination that is made by our students. So these are some tips that I impart to you in this lesson, and this will be followed by some of my co-reporters who will discuss the rules of matching type, or the rules of creating a matching type of assessment that is discussed by Miss Ledelvites Pasaporte and Miss Stella Marie De Yanco.
Now, let's talk about the rules for constructing matching type. So the rule number 1 is to check your objective to make sure this type of question is appropriate. So in constructing matching type test, before or constructing questions, you need to check your objective first. It is important that the type of questions you are constructing or making is appropriate and relevant to your objectives. Then we have the rule number 2, which is to give clear directions or instructions. So directions to the student should explain how many times our responses can be used. Clear and vivid instructions are required to avoid confusions. So your directions must be specific and clear in order for the students to easily get what you're trying to imply. Next is rule number 3. Use numbers to identify items in column A, capital letters to identify a response in column B, or vice versa. So to avoid confusions, you should use numbers to identify items in column A and to identify a response in column B. And it would be better if you use capital letters or vice versa. Then we have the rule number 4, which is to include more responses than premises or allow responses to be used more than once or vice versa. So it is required for you to have more responses than premises. All of the responses and premises should also appear on the same page.
Hello everyone, good morning. I am Estela Marie B. De Yanco. So for today's video, I will be discussing the continuation of the rules for or in creating the matching type test. So since the first 4 rules were already discussed by Miss Pasaporte, so I will be discussing the 5th to 8th rules in creating the matching type test. 5th rule is arrange all items in column B in logical order or vice versa. So to help the examinee find the answer easier, arrange the options alphabetically or chronologically if it is a date or time, whichever it is applicable. So this avoid confusions to the students, and then they can answer the test easier and more productive. So next is rule number 6. Rule number 6. Put all the items with more than words in column A. So this means that to help the examinee get or arrive in a correct answer, you must, as a teacher, have to put the premises or the column A not just a one word, or it's advisable to have a 1 or 2 words and more so that they can have a proper idea, or they can arrive at the correct answer without much confusions on the premises towards its options. So rule number 7, keep the 2 sets of items homogeneous. So this means that you have to match homogeneous and not heterogeneous items. So the items to match must be homogeneous. So if you want your students to match authors with their literary works, in one column will be the authors, and in one column must be their in second column must be the literary works. So last is rule number 8. Avoid using pattern in correct answers. So we must avoid leading patterns so that students will be challenged in identifying the answers, and also help them develop their thinking skills, not in a lower or in a fleeting one, but in a higher or in a long-lasting one. So this also helps them remembers everything they memorize or everything they learn, and that this also promotes their capability or their memory. That will help them coming up the correct answer. So that's all for the rules in